Okay, time to make myself unpopular with the right again, right after a fashion. On November 13th, 2022, the Idaho student murders, this is still in the news because the man charged with them is currently in court. The trial won't begin yet, but there have been all sorts of plethora of pre-trial motions. His name is Bryan Kohberger. And on July 29th this year, there was a mass stabbing in Stockport in which 3 young girls were probably stabbed to death. And I mean, again, this is in the news, and the trial of the man accused of this will start, I think, January, as things stand. And, well, he was 17 years old at the time. He's been named as Axel Rudakubana. Both these are absolutely horrific cases, and the evidence against both the suspects is overwhelming, we're told. Rudakubana was actually arrested at the crime scene. Kohberger was arrested weeks later. But again, as I say, the evidence against him appears to be compelling. So compelling, in fact, that people who should know better have been going online and convicting him, including retired police officers and the like. In the United States, contempt of court laws are not as strict as in Britain. In Britain, the authorities clamped down very hard on this case. There were riots after, due to misinformation, disinformation, whatever you want to call it. Some lunatic in either India or Pakistan, a Pakistan national living in India, he posted a message online claiming that the perpetrator was a bogus asylum seeker who had, I mean, it turned out to be a complete bunk. Interestingly, the search terms for this appear to be suppressed. I did searches on Google and on Bing, and Google, it's referred to by Wikipedia as the 2024 Southport stabbing. Southport massacre, other things come up. Now, as I say, the evidence against both is compelling. In Britain, it's very unwise, rightly, to discuss the Rudakubana case. You know, I mean, if the evidence is so great, and why bother with trials? You know, why not execute Kohberger or sentence him to life in prison? Why not sentence? Why not do something to Rudakubana if the evidence is so compelling? The evidence in many cases does seem extremely compelling. There was the case of Sally Ann Bowman, for example, who was murdered in Croydon, not far from where I am. Her boyfriend was arrested later the same day. They got their man. There was even evidence of a struggle. I mean, he'd had an argument with her, and he thought she'd report him to the police. And they kept this poor kid in a police station for 4 days until the DNA came back. It wasn't Lewis Boston who murdered her. It was an incredibly depraved individual named Mark Dixie who murdered her and then raped her. Horrible. He's committed other offences, very like the other murders. Another rape in which a rape in Spain. He was a chef, and he worked all over the place, and he raped a woman in Spain, for which Dutch national was convicted, spent many years in prison. Then there was, excuse the creaking table, then there was Colin Stagg. Colin Stagg was the prime and, for the most part, the only suspect in the murder of Rachel Nickel in 1992. The police officer on the case was so convinced that Stagg was guilty that even after the judge shredded the non-case against him, he published 2 books in which he as good as said Stagg murdered Rachel and Kell. We know now that Rachel and Kell was actually murdered by Robert Napper, an incredibly depraved sexual sadist. So I would say, especially with the Rudakubana case, keep your mouth shut, all of you. No more speculation. No more anything until after the trial. If and when he's convicted, then, I mean, what if he says he wasn't there? Absurd as that may sound. What do you do if he says he wasn't there? So these are horrible cases, and they generate enormous speculation and enormous talk, but it isn't fair because the next time the case won't be so compelling. And after that, it'll be mere suspicion. And we don't want to see this happen. And I'm happy with the contempt of court laws in Britain as they are, and I think they should be a lot stronger in the United States because this sort of thing's happened before with less compelling evidence against the accused. Anyway, that's my 2 seconds worth.